Back to the sibling group chat. I'm Owen.
And I'm Cassidy.
And today we're back at it with the Odyssey review, episode 41, The Shepherd and the Giant.
Yes, this is the 46th episode of Adventures in Odyssey. It originally aired on October 29th, 1988. So they could have aired their Halloween episode a bit closer to Halloween. I guess they wanted to give people time to decide not to celebrate.
That's fair. Yeah. They wanted to influence their decision.
Yeah, But anyway, this is part of album 3, Heroes. And in this episode, Connie tries out Whit's new invention, the Environment Enhancer, and witnesses an encounter between a young man named David and the giant Goliath. Our themes are God's power and the Bible story of David and Goliath.
Just getting into it a little bit, Chris didn't really have an intro.
Nope,
this is more to this,
the
Whit's in the workshop, have fun.
Yep, it's just like, this is just where I'm dropping you.
Yeah.
See ya.
And so Whit is in the Bible room, not the workshop, working on a new invention. And Connie comes in as she's cleaning up the place to close. And Whit, this invention has headphones, so Whit is kind of reacting to what's happening in the headphones. And Connie doesn't realize at first, so they're kind of on different wavelengths. It's a little bit funny. Anyway, Connie finally gets Whit's attention, and he tells her that he has created an environment enhancer.
Yeah, and all he describes this as something that adds effects and music while you're listening to a story. And so I've always imagined this as like just headphones, but then we'll get into this as we go on. But there has to be a visual component. Because Connie says something. She puts on the headphones. Oh, well, never mind. We'll get to it later when I make this notice. But
I disagree, and I will tell you why when we get there.
Well, I don't think there is either. But Connie makes a remark that makes it seem that there would have to be.
Again, I disagree, but we'll get to that in a minute. The way he describes it, it's essentially, this is prototype 3 of the Imagination Station. 1 being concussions, 2 being just use your imagination, and now we're on 3.
Now we're on 3 with audio assistance
yes.
to the imagination. And I also think he mentions that this invention is part of his goal for the Bible room, which is to bring the Bible literally to life. And I think this is the first time in a non-Lost episode that this description is given, because he says that in Gotcha when he creates the Bible room, but that was Lost.
So, well, he says that he wants to bring the Bible to life, and so, like, through Bible stories and stuff, and Connie's like, I mean, it sounds kind of cool, but you could come up with a lot better stories than Bible stories. Like, the Bible's boring. And it's like, well, if you're so sure, why don't you put on the headphones and give it a try, and we'll see if you still think it's boring. Which I feel like Whit was also kind of like, guess what I've got coming up? Lions!
Well, obviously, that's the whole point.
I know, but it's fun. So Connie does put on the headphones and tries it out for him. And the story, he doesn't tell her anything about what's happening. He just put it on and then starts telling the story, setting the scene in a field outside of Bethlehem. He might not even say. Yeah, I think he does say Bethlehem.
Here's my question: do you think Whit is narrating the whole time she's listening, or Whit's narration is part of the recording?
I wasn't sure. It could have been either one.
Yeah. Because if Whit is narrating, then anytime somebody uses this, Mr. Whitaker has to be there.
Well, he does say he hasn't finished it yet, because even when he gets to the end, he hasn't, he said he was going to keep working on the story of David, and he hasn't finished it yet.
Yeah.
So either way is still possible.
But then why would he even have her use it? Other than for the story.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's a good thing he moved on from the Environment Enhancer, because I have a lot of questions about it that just the Imagination Station clear up.
I don't know if they really clear it up.
But like all the questions I'm like, oh, how is this working?
I suppose
they work in the Imagination Station.
That's fair. Yeah. But she hears or sees in her imagination a boy playing the harp with sheep. And she goes and talks to him, introduces himself as David. She kind of startled David, actually.
Yeah.
David thought that it was a wild animal, which was a little confusing, considering I feel like he would have noticed a little sooner if there was a wild animal.
He was in the zone composing a song.
He was entering flow state.
Yeah. I also was thinking this is the unique approach as far as like Connie being in the Imagination Station, because most of the time, she's in the Environment Enhancer, but comparing this to an Imagination Station episode, most of the time kids either already know before they start or figure out once they're in there what story they're in. But because Connie doesn't know the Bible, she doesn't know what's going on. And I just think that's interesting, because that's not usually the case. Like, normally a kid would figure out as soon as they meet David in a field the story keeps going. They
I
don't know what
think-
story they're in.
I think there are other times that they
They don't know the story. They don't know the whole story, but they at least recognize the characters.
I suppose, yeah. I was thinking of there's one way later on when somebody went back to the Book of Acts, and they didn't know a lot of they were learning about the early church. I don't remember who goes back.
Oh,
to
I think
the
it's like
church.
Sam and Rodney.
No, well, they go back to the story of Stephen, and that was unintentional for Rodney, not for Sam.
Yeah.
But no, there's one later where they're going back to the early church.
The one when Jason hops in halfway through.
No, that's the Sam and Rodney
Oh.
one.
I don't know, the Nicholas with Onesimus.
No, that wouldn't be the Book of Acts.
Well, I know.
There's
but-
one where they go back to the Book of Acts in the early church, and they don't really know what's going on in that one. I don't
I
remember.
can't think of anything going to the Book of Acts other than.
Well, there is.
Oh,
I
is
know
it the
it is.
one
I just
where
can't. It's a
Matthew
newer
goes
church.
back because he
Yeah,
doesn't
it
get
is
the point of
Matthew.
church?
Yeah, he doesn't get the point of church. That's who it is. I was thinking it happened before the reset, but it does happen after.
Okay, that's why I.
That's why I couldn't
remember
remember
it,
the kid because I thought it happened before the
Yeah.
reset.
Is that whole one in the Book of Acts, or just
Yeah.
goes through church through time?
I think it's all in the Book of Acts,
Okay, I won't listen to it once, so
and he doesn't really know the story either. So.
yeah. Well, I feel like Wit does have a tendency to pick obscure Bible stories.
Well, I mean, sometimes you learn more if you're going to a story that
Yeah.
you don't know what's going to happen.
My point was just compared to a lot of the kids who take these
Yeah, she
adventures,
has very
Connie
little
has,
biblical
because
knowledge.
every kid would have figured out this was the story of David and Goliath.
True.
So
Connie didn't go to Sunday school.
no.
Sorry, I don't know where I'm at.
Awkward pause.
Awkward silence.
So she meets David, who's
Yes,
by the way voiced by Will
after,
Ryan.
yes, after he introduces himself, he sees a lion off in his sheep, so he has to go fight the lion. He gets the lion to drop the sheep because he startles the lion, and then the lion's going to come fight him. He's like, "Ha, my staff!" And at this point, Connie's like, "I don't want to see anymore. No more headphones."
Yeah.
At this point, Whit had already made his point that the Bible stories are exciting.
It's true. Yeah, but then here is where I'm just starting to wonder how much of this is imagination and how much of it is the machine. Because even so, she takes off the headphones. She's clearly been imagining, which I can get behind. The sound effects are bringing her into the world. But then she takes off the headphones. Then Whit convinces her to put them back on and continue the story. And all we hear is like one sound effect, and she goes, "Wait a minute, what happened to the field? Now I'm on a dirt road." One sound effect can't put somebody on a dirt road. So was there a visual component?
I don't think there's a visual component, and I think this factors into the story of like slightly impractical imagination, if you know what I mean.
Okay, kind of like you're wherever the storyteller takes
Yeah,
you.
kind of like when Jack and Lucy were in the story of Jonah, they were seeing things that weren't necessarily making a whole lot of
I
sense.
suppose. But it's just, she wouldn't have even had to say that line. That line is
No.
unnecessary and confusing. She's like, wait a minute, I'm on a dirt road.
What do you mean?
How do you know?
You don't know what a dirt road sounds like?
I know what driving on a dirt road sounds like, and that would not be what Connie was doing.
It's true. But yeah, so she ends up on a dirt road and realizes that she is no longer at the same place in the story. But she runs into a man named Samuel. And I just want to
Scares
say,
him, actually.
yeah, she scares him because he's scared because he's going to anoint a new king, and the current king might not be very happy about it.
Yeah.
But I just think I love how they portray Samuel. It's so
He's pretty
he's a
funny.
little goofy old man.
Yeah,
Kinda.
voiced by Walker Edmondson.
Yeah.
Classic Bible character voice.
Mhm.
But yeah, he is funny.
And so she asks if he happens to know a David who lives in this area. She just assumes they're still in that area, which they are, but she doesn't know. And he says he doesn't, but he's going to see a guy named Jesse, and maybe he would. And he says he's going to anoint one of Jesse's sons king. And at this point, Connie puts two together.
I thought you said Saul was the king.
Yeah. Oh, that's why.
Yeah.
And then,
He is.
yeah. So Samuel goes and talks to Jesse. None of the first, is it 9?
I don't remember how many he has.
I think it's 9.
But Connie clearly hasn't been watching the whole process
No.
because she's like, who's going to be the new king? You ready for this? None of them! That's my favorite Samuel line.
I say I didn't even write down any of his lines. Just his whole like demeanor was funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, so none of the older sons, all of them but the youngest, none of them were the correct ones. So Samuel asks Jesse if there's any more, and he says, "Well, there's the youngest one. He's out with the sheep. I'll go get him." And then Connie then reminds Samuel he's supposed to ask if Jesse knows a David.
Mhm.
Well, what is it? He says something like, oh, he says, I was supposed to ask you about, and then David is coming up and goes, Father, and then Connie goes, David. He's like, Father David?
Well, he said something about, he's something or other, about yay, hi, like, he's never met the guy.
I don't know, I never met the guy.
Likes to play with sheep and lions, and answers to the name of Father David.
Father David? Yes. Samuel and everybody, well, mostly Samuel, puts two and together to determine that this was the person that Connie was looking for. Mm-hmm. And then Samuel's like, this is the one. Anointed.
Pretty much.
Connie thought it was cool.
Yeah, I guess.
And at this point, I don't know if she takes the headphones off or if she just talks to Whit real quick outside of the store. She's like, it looked cool.
Yeah. I feel like this whole time, I have 0 notes after this point, actually. Because
0?
Well, other than, I have one thing about Connie at the end, but yeah.
Okay.
It's just the story of David and Goliath.
Yeah, I have notes, but it's not a lot, and it's basically like, Connie meets David again on the way to the Israelite camp. The Israelites drop the battle lines against the Philistines. They send out Goliath. Israelites are afraid. David's like, guys, why are you afraid? We've got God on our side. Everyone's like, you're a little kid, knock it off. And he's like, well, if you're not going to do anything, I'm going to do something. So he goes, talks to Saul. Saul's like, sure, nobody else wants to do it. Here, take my armor. No, the armor's too big. Goes and does it with a stick and his sling, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
Actually, all of it was history, but
Connie inserting a few comments here and there. But I mentioned this right before we hit record. Normally, in an Imagination Station adventure, there's a bit more fiction to the story alongside the historical event. There's none here, other than that Connie is there. Like, Connie doesn't even have, like, a side quest. I feel like often the kids who go back, they have a job to do or a lesson to learn or something. They're interacting with a minor character while the real event is going on. There's none of that here.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it's boring. It's a good episode. It's just, I don't think it's worth recapping in full detail because it's...
Yeah.
It's just
I will say, this is another one that it makes me wonder more because it's pre-Imagination Station, but how much the person influences their experience in the Imagination Station. Because, like, especially at the end... She wouldn't
be able to imagine anything extra.
You say, but she doesn't know the story.
Yeah.
But, like, she imagines thinking David killing Goliath was a little gross.
Yeah.
And, like, stuff like that. Like, I wonder how much the person's knowledge or perception of the story changes their experience, or if it does at all.
Yeah.
That's one thing I always think about, especially when we're before the Imagination Station, but similar experiences.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder.
Yeah, it's this whole thing of, like, we're probably not supposed to figure out, but how much of it is imagination and how much of it is the invention.
Right.
But, to your point, Connie wouldn't be able to imagine much beyond the story that she's being given, because she doesn't already know the story, so she couldn't imagine anything
exactly
around it.
I will say, post the actual story, Connie did enjoy the story, and she wanted to know, like, what else happened to David, and was like, well, I haven't got that far yet, so
you can go read your Bible.
Come back or go read your Bible.
Yeah. She does say, though, that she realizes the Bible is not as boring as she thought. So.
And then she asks, I think she asks if, like, everything in the Bible is that interesting. Probably not quite that interesting, but it's all good.
Yeah.
And so
this is just further planting a seed because, spoiler, we're actually getting very close to Connie becoming a Christian.
Which means we're also getting very close to Eugene.
Which is also true. And honestly, I say this whole recording adventure has made me realize I forget how early on in the show Connie becomes a Christian. This isn't neither here nor there for this episode, but album 3 she becomes a Christian, when it kind of feels like she's not a Christian for much longer.
Yeah. It's true.
And or maybe there's actually less Connie episodes before she becomes a Christian than I thought there was.
Yeah, kind of.
Because she's not the main focus in very many of these episodes so far.
It's true.
But that's a discussion for a few weeks from now.
You can even tell from, like, Whit after she leaves, because he tells her she can leave and doesn't worry about cleaning up the Bible room the next day or whatever, that while Whit did actually want her to try the machine, he was really just hoping she would hear the Bible story and be affected by it in a positive way so that they continue to work on her hard.
Yeah. Yeah, an extremely quick recap, but if you don't know the story of David and Goliath, go read your Bible or listen to the Odyssey episode. Mm-hmm. One other note, though, is did you listen to this in the club or on the CD?
Club.
Did you notice the art? The art is just the cover from the Imagination Station book that goes back to David and Goliath with Connie's face photoshopped over Beth's face.
Actually.
Yes.
That's kind of lazy.
But what I don't understand is why on the club they have created episode-specific art when that wasn't really a thing on the albums. Like, it's just like, most of the time it's just the album art on every episode, and then randomly there'll be episode art.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not going to do it well, why do it at all?
Yeah.
Are you looking for it?
I'm looking for it.
There it is.
I hadn't even noticed it, but you're...
Well, I probably wouldn't have noticed if I hadn't I just recently listened to the Imagination Station books that are on the club, and yeah, it's just Connie's face photoshopped over Beth's face.
Not even well photoshopped. She looks like a bobblehead.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah.
The more you know.
I know.
I guess that'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
We hope you have a good New Year's and that you had a Merry Christmas.
Yep.
And thank you for watching. Follow us wherever you get the, or subscribe wherever you get the podcast. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Next time is A Single Vote, which is still in album 3. So yeah, see you next time. Bye.